put my mask on. I hopped in the pool. As I took a step, he said, "Stop." And I was like, "What? I'm not quitting." And he said, "Everybody out of the pool." All these instructors started screaming, yelling. I looked to my left, and my teammate, James Derek Lovelace, had drowned right next to me. Cool. So my name's Zack Ferguson, born and raised Orange County, California. Branch of service, I was in the Navy SEAL teams for 6 years. I joined 2015 and I got out in 2021. My family's from Boston, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Charlestown, and they're born and raised there. And they moved here in the 80s, and I have two sisters and an older brother, and they moved us out here to Orange County early 90s. So I was born and raised in OC. So I have twin sisters. They're 32. I'm 30. I have older brothers, 36. Fantastic childhood growing up. I talk about my dad a lot. He's the epitome of what a father figure should be like. So passionate about talking about him because I want to be like him today when I have kids. My mom's just the most loving human I've ever met, loving woman. So I had my dad's toughness, Boston, gritty mentality, and my mom's like loving human side. They were together their whole lives, still together. Fantastic relationship with my siblings and my parents. I had like an existential crisis when I was 13. It was very bizarre at that age. I remember in my parents' bedrooms on the second floor, I was on the old box computers writing myself an email saying I wanted to achieve something great in life. I didn't know what it was, but I was like talking to God, and I wrote myself an email and I drafted it and I saved it. And I still haven't looked at it to this day, but it's in my email box. So I didn't want to be in high school. I didn't want to be there. I didn't fit in necessarily. I had a great group of friends. So I got in a lot of trouble. I was like egging police cars, toilet paper people's houses, failing out of high school, but I had to maintain a 3.0 grade point average, so my parents allowed me to play sports. So I was cheating my way through high school off people's tests because I knew there was something bigger than high school that I wanted to achieve, and I wanted to get the fuck out of there. On my dad's side of the family, addiction runs pretty heavy. Multiple of my uncles were, if you've seen the movie The Town with Ben Affleck, the armed bank robberies, the movie was based around at that time frame. So they were robbing banks, armed robberies. My uncle I just met for the first time 3 months ago. He just did 35 years in prison, and he texted me he Facebook messaged me. He's like, "Hey, I'm your uncle." I'm like, I didn't even know my dad had another brother. Social media's connected me with an uncle that I've never met. My dad wanted to leave that toxic, they were doing Oxycontin, they were doing a bunch of drugs, they were robbing banks. He wanted to leave that life to get a better upbringing for his kids, which is very admirable. I looked up like my Capricorn or my zodiac sign, which I wasn't too big in back in the day, but it's like the Grim Reaper, which is like signifies death. So I used to wear like this skull mask, a Grim Reaper mask, and I posted it on my Facebook. And my uncle DM'd me. He's like, actually, it was a public comment. He said, "You know what's funny is your uncle, whatever his name is, and I'll say it here. Your uncle used to wear those same masks when he robbed banks, but that was a past life, and I'm learning to forgive myself for what I did." Maybe he's in like a sober living, living on a farm, kind of reacclimating into civilian life. Hopefully I can meet him someday. I've always been fascinated with warrior culture, men who were savage protectors of their people at the time. So in my mind, a UFC fighter was the epitome of how can I be a protector? And so I wanted to be a UFC champion. So I started training MMA at Range Training Center when I was 16 to 19. And that was my goal and purpose identity. Growing up, my dad ran the Boston Marathon, and there's a picture of him growing up in my house on the wall that I've seen every day of my life. Of him finishing the Boston Marathon with his timestamp. And I was like, my dad's fucking badass for running the Boston Marathon. So I was watching TV with him in 2013, watching the Boston Marathon race, like thinking of my dad, watching it with him. And then I just see the terrorists blow up kids at the finish line. And I had another out-of-body experience like when I was 13. It felt like God literally took an open hand and smacked me across my face. And he's like, he said these words. He's like, "You're being a selfish prick. Your goal is not to be a UFC champion. You're being selfish. You need to go protect your family, friends, and country." So I had a 180 turn, my goal identity, and I decided to think about joining the military. I was always thinking about the epitome of the highest caliber warfighter, highest caliber protector of warrior culture. Eventually, I found what SEALs were, and I was like, cool, I could protect my country at the highest level. My best friend's cousin was in the team, so I kind of talked to him about how do I do it? How do I join BUDS? What is BUDS? What's Hell Week? And then I started doing my research when I was 19. And he said something to me that stuck with me for the rest of my life. He said, think about what you are trying to do and research it. And I want you to answer one question. He said, are you willing to die? And I said, the fuck you talking about, willing to die? He's like, during training, that's what the training entails. And if your answer is yes, after thinking about it, then join. If it's not, then don't waste your time. So fast forward 6 months from the Boston Marathon, I sat in my room in the pitch dark for 6 months thinking about this, sometimes all night long, 2 in the morning, 6 a.m., 2 days without sleep, thinking about what he was talking about. And then sitting on my bed one night after like 4 or 5 months, this Grim Reaper figure, kind of like the back screen behind me, I didn't see his face, but this figure, this presence looked over my shoulder and he said, you're saying you're willing to die. If you really mean it, I'm going to test you. And I said, I'm willing to die. And then I decided to join the teams. I feel very blessed and fortunate. I went to a recruiter. I said, this is my goal. I want to be a SEAL. There's nothing else. I don't want you to say a fucking word about any other MOS. This is what I want to do. He said, roger that. PST, start doing your scores. I didn't know how to swim, so I had to learn the combat side stroke from a friend that did swimming in high school. So I was very blessed and fortunate for Cody to teach me that. And I learned after a year of training, I passed my scores and I went to BUDS. It was absolutely miserable, Navy boot camp. I was like, this is the worst place I've ever been to, because I'm just being yelled at by instructors that aren't BUDS students, not that BUDS instructors, not that I didn't respect them, but I was like, my goal is to be a SEAL and go through BUDS. I don't want to be learning a bunch of nerd stuff about regular Navy, which I respect the Navy in every job, because everyone's signed their life to protect their country. But I was like, just get me through this and let me go to BUDS prep already. I remember having staying at attention for like 3 hours, just staring at like my buddy across from me, like, this is kind of awkward. We're just staring at each other. And then we would just see each other like fall asleep and like head nod or like almost fall down. So just being like with guys who have a similar mindset and nothing too crazy, but. So straight from there, you go to BUDS prep, which is in Great Lakes, Illinois, for like 7 weeks. You're basically regaining your fitness, passing another PhD score, getting ready to get fit again for BUDS, because in boot camp, you get out of shape because you're not working out. At 10 p.m. when we went to bed in boot camp, we were in the laundry room or in the bathroom doing push-ups, pull-ups, just trying to maintain some sort of level of fitness. It fucks with you because you did your PhD scores, you're in great shape when you get to boot camp, then they take away your fitness. So when guys talk to me online asking, what does it take to go through BUDS? Like, here are my scores. I'm like, your scores mean shit because they're going to take that away from you. You're going to become fat and out of shape. So if you're willing to die, then that's all that matters. I got paid to train every day, just running. I was not a good runner. I was not a good swimmer. Very, very mid-level pack, very average. I failed my last PhD score before I shipped to Navy boot camp, and I had to retake it 7 days before I left. And if I failed that PhD, they would have taken away my BUDS contract and I would have been in the regular Navy. I was like really set on like, I'm gonna be a really good runner in BUDS prep. That's what I focused on. You then head to Coronado in San Diego and you do basic orientation while you're waiting to class up for your BUDS class. Basically learning how to do the O course, getting acclimated, stuff like that, nothing crazy. I started BUDS prep with like 220 guys off the top of my memory. And then we lost a few. We started first phase with 209 guys. My description of BUDS was hell on earth. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. So Buds is 6 months long for the viewers, broken into 3 phases: first phase, second phase, third phase. They're all 7 weeks long. The first week of first phase in Buds, my teammate at the time, James Derek Lovelace, we're on day 5 of first phase, week 1, 5 days in. And we were doing this evolution called the Beehive, which was probably the single most hard evolution in Buds for me. At the time, I had a deviated septum from doing MMA, so I couldn't have airway on my left side. And in the Beehive, you have a charged goggles, which is filled with water. You have a mask on, wearing full camis, boots, and they throw you in the pool the whole class. And the instructors are on the outside of the pool, inside the pool, and they hive everyone together like a bee. So basically, as they're crowding people together, you can't see or breathe. For me, I couldn't hold the water in my mask because of my deviated septum. So I was gargling bad. I was fucking struggling hard. And as everyone's getting crowded together, everyone's pulling each other down to fucking stay afloat. And the instructors see me struggling because I had to keep refilling the mask. Like, fucking charge your mask. Fucking put water back in. So they were like hounding on me because I was struggling. Getting dunked, I was having a rough time. And then the figure I was talking about a second ago showed up again, that dark figure around my shoulder. And he appeared while I was like drowning. And he said, "Motherfucker, I just talked to you about this 6 months ago." And he opened up this door, clear as day to me. He opened the door and it was black inside. It looked like death to me. And he said, "Are you willing to go inside and die like you said you were?" And I didn't say anything to him. I gave him the double middle fingers and I walked inside, took a step inside the door, woke up on the side of the pool, and I drowned. You know, they slapped me, getting me back awake, started vomiting everywhere. I had shit my pants while I drowned. And then the instructor's like, "Go ring the bell." And I said, "Absolutely fucking not. I want to go back inside." And he said, "Well, fucking go then." Put my mask on, I hopped in the pool. As I took a step, he said, "Stop." And I was like, "What? I'm not quitting." And he said, "Everybody out of the pool," all the instructors started screaming, yelling. And I was like, "The fuck?" I looked to my left and my teammate, James Derek Lovelace, had drowned right next to me. And they were giving him CPR and he wasn't be able to resuscitate it, so he died next to me on the pool. James Derek Lovelace, yeah. Fucking stud of a human being, funny as hell. We do skits to make fun of the Buds instructors, and he's just such a funny guy, hard as fuck dude. And so when I say willing to die, he had the same mindset as he was not quitting, and he ended up passing away. So this is Buds class 319. I got that number just for Derek, just to think about him every day. So class 319, yeah. Just to backtrack like a few weeks, Buds class 318, while we were in basic orientation, a SEAL candidate, Daniel Deobanco, USC All-American, just stud dude. He was in Hell Week and he quit. I talked about to the viewers like the willingness to commit yourself to a goal that's so meaningful to you. And if you fall short, it could shatter your world. So for Daniel, he took an Uber ride to downtown San Diego to the Marriott Hotel, took the elevator up to the top floor and jumped off, killed himself. We had a death in 318 class, death in 319 class. So I was like, fuck, I'm in it for the long run. I was concerned that they would make the class easier because the big Navy steps in and is like, there's a death, we need to like chill out. Wasn't the case. James Derek Lovelace passed away. We had his funeral the next day. And then the following day, back to regular Buds. So it was one day of funeral and then back to it. Yeah, so drowning was a terrible experience. I've always wondered about what it'd be like to, like, what's the worst death possible? Like, getting eaten by a live by a shark would suck. Drowning probably sounds terrible, and it's just as bad as you'd think. As humans, we just need water and oxygen and some food. Cold water and shelter. Simple. When you take away oxygen, your brain goes to this survival mode where it's like, get to the surface now, or your life's gonna be taken. So experiencing that human level of emotion was fucking, it was weird and it was tough. It was hard. So first phase is 3 weeks and then basically weeding out guys. You're doing time mile runs, test, O courses, swims. And then the fourth week is Hell Week. We do surf torture in the Pacific Ocean, and that's like the second worst thing to drowning for me. It was like being that cold is like torture. It's torture, surf torture. And you're sitting there linked arms with your boys, just thinking about them and not yourself. Like, my boy's suffering, I'm gonna be here, I'm not fucking letting him go. And Mexico's right down the way, a couple miles. So they have Tijuana sewage runoff that goes into the Pacific, and then as the tide changes, it comes up. So we're now being surf tortured in Tijuana sewage, drinking shit water and piss water. And then I got VEG, which is a gut infection. So I was vomiting and shitting at the same time for 4 days. That was terrible because I was going through buds at like a super dehydrated state, like a shell of myself, and like 15 guys got it. I had to pass a 4-mile time run, and it was like one of the hardest things ever, because if I passed or if I failed that run, then they could roll me or drop me. So I put out like a fucking motherfucker, barely passed it. And then they gathered everyone who had VEG together. And in boat crew and buds, you run with a rubber raft in your head, a rubber boat. And they do a height line, so everyone carries equal weight in the boat. So everyone's a similar height. They put everyone who had VEG in the same boat crew. One of my best friends, he's 6'5". I'm 5'11". So it's a big gap difference. We had the tallest dude in the class, and then the shortest dude, 4'11". So we had a 4'11", 5'11", 6'5", and then a couple other guys my height. And we were running with the raft on our head, and I look at my buddy, he turns back to me, he's like, "This fucking sucks." And I'm like, I feel so bad because I'm not tall enough to carry this weight. And then we all started laughing. When I talk about buds, like finding comedy in something that's so hard helps you and your boys to get through hardship. We eventually recovered, and then we started with 209 guys in our first phase, and then we started Hell Week with like roughly 110 or something off the top of my head. And then we started Hell Week, which starts on Sunday, 6 a.m. You're up. They just mentally torment you. So you're up from 6 a.m. waiting in a classroom until sundown, just sitting there like, we're about to start Hell Week, fuck me. Like, and we had dudes ring out before we started Hell Week. Like, it fucks with you so much. I never thought about quitting. It wasn't an option because I already decided to death before quitting. But it was the single hardest thing I've done in my entire life, Hell Week. You know, you're up from Sunday morning until Friday afternoon with no sleep. By like 96 hours, 100 hours, you start to hallucinate. So I was seeing people that weren't there. On Thursday on the around the world paddle, sometimes guys in second phase will swim out, snatch to you like in the middle of the dark as like a, like push it through bush, almost there. And the Coronado Bridge has pillars holding up the bridge, and I see my best friend Frankie on the pillar, and he was sitting there swinging his feet. And he was like beckoning me over. He's like, "Ferg," my best friend's calling me Ferg, "got In-N-Out for you," which is our favorite meal to eat. Sitting there with the In-N-Out bag, I'm like, "Boys, let's just do a quick detour. We're gonna lose this race, which we get beat after if we lose races, but it's gonna be worth it. We're gonna get food." And they're like, "Fuck yeah, dude, let's get In-N-Out." We paddle up to the pillar. I flashed my eyes, and he was not there. And I was like, I did this, and all my boys like, "Where's your friend at?" And I'm like, "Fuck, dude, I'm sorry." And they got fucking pissed at me. We lost the race, and it didn't get In-N-Out. So that's how I was hard. I was hallucinating. Everyone was, but we landed on this break spot to hydrate, and we got our fucking asses kicked because I think we got last place. And that was early in around the world paddle, which starts at like 8 p.m. and you go through all Coronado Bay and you finish at sunrise. So it's quite a long journey. And as soon as you lost the race, I'm like, "Boys, I promise, I'm gonna fucking put out even harder, and we're not gonna lose any more races." And we finished first at the round world paddle. And as the sun came up, we landed our boats, and we got to sit next to our boats, eat an MRE, and everyone else got surf tortured while they ate their MRE for like a good 30 minutes, and that was like the biggest win in the world. And everyone was like, fuck yeah, we did it. It was like 6 a.m., 5 a.m. when we finished eating MRE, and we didn't know what time it was. We knew it was morning, so we're like, we're almost there, boys, let's just finish. And it didn't fucking stop. So we like went to the demo pits, and you know, they're doing smoke grenades and they do live fire again with blanks. You're back in this like puddle of shit water that they just leave there. I remember shitting my pants and crawling to the demo pits, and I asked the instructors like, hey, can I use the restroom? And they've given you a level of respect at this point. And he said, fuck no. And I was like, it was a demoralizing thing. So I shit my pants and I wanted to like fucking get it out. So I had to fucking army crawl through demo pits with shit in my pants. And I went in the demo pits water and I fucking took my pants down and scooped everything out. So now I'm just like sitting in shit water. We finished that, and then we're like, we're almost done now. Do another boat race, and then we do fucking beach games for like multiple more hours. Now I'm just like annoyed. I'm like, we're almost there. Doing surf torture, and they're like multiple iterations. They're like face the water, and I'm like, fuck again, this motherfucker's not stopping. It's like, we're in it. I'm like, obviously no one's going anywhere. And they said, link arms, walk shoulder to shoulder to the beach, walking. And then he said, stop, take seats. And we sit down in the water and surf torture again. And he said, feet. And we stood up again. He said, turn around. And they had an American flag with all the instructors, and he said, go run to the flag. And he said, how we secured. So happy, and like just started hugging the boys, and like, these are the guys who will not leave you, who will take a bullet for you any day of the week, at any time. And that's super special to me. We went to the grinder where we do like PT, and the bell's there where people ring out. And we sat on the grinder. The first time we were able to walk on the grinder because we finished Hell Week. And they had pizza for us, so we were drinking Gatorade, eating pizza. I was laying there, I texted my dad and my best friend Frankie. I was like, Hell Week secured. And I took screenshots throughout my text and buds, but I didn't look back on my photos till after the military. I went to sleep around like 3 p.m. on Friday for about an hour, and I'm chafed. Everyone's chafed, and you're pissing in your chafe all week, which burns like a motherfucker. Went to bed for an hour, and I had roommates. I had 4 roommates in my living facility, and I went back to my room, and I was the only one in there. They had all quit, so sleeping in my room by myself for an hour. Woke up, fucking shit myself again, and I was so annoyed. I was like, I have to fucking get up and shower. I just want to sleep. So I like hobble to the shower. A white shirt, which is someone who hasn't secured Hell Week from the previous class, sits outside your door to make sure that you're not gonna like die and you're good. And he's like, what's up? And he's like, can I walk me to the shower? I gotta fucking clean up. Took another chafing, burning shower, went back to sleep. Woke up the next morning, did a medical check. Then my best friend Frankie picked me up, and we drove to Orange County to see my family. I was shitting because there's not really like restroom breaks in Hell Week. Like you piss your pants all week, and if you're at Chow, you can use the like porta potties. But if you're in fucking surf torture, or if you're in boat paddles, you can't be like, hey, can I use the restroom? You just shit yourself. So I had no control over my bladder, and I actually still have problems to this day about holding urine and like restrooms and stuff from that. I'm pretty sure there was a Harvard medical study. Doctors wanted to figure out what does Hell Week do to men long term. And after their research, they came to the conclusion that it takes 5 years off your life. Like I said, don't quote me on this, but that's from at the time I remember reading something like that. I was like, fuck, it was worth it. Monday comes around after you rest for the weekend, and there's something called Hell Week blues, which is like your mental chemical balance is so fucked up that you're depressed. So I was like super depressed. Everyone was for quite a bit for most of the rest of first phase. So 4 more weeks, and we finished Hell Week with, I want to say like 50. So we started with 220, 209 first phase, ended up with like 50 or 49. And then we went to second phase, which is pool competency. A lot of closed circuit, open circuit diving. Um, and that was just as hard as first phase, but in a different way, because they're testing your comfortability in the water. How comfortable and relaxed can you stay when you don't have oxygen, which I already experienced in first phase. It's like, oh, this will be like not as bad. What was I wrong? So you do a bunch of pool tests where you put on open circuit oxygen tanks, breathing, and then the instructors will come by and they'll rip the hose out of your mouth, tie knots in it, do a surf hit, which is they're throwing you underwater, hitting you around, and then you have to regain your air back, do the procedures to get air. Did a bunch of those. I think on the fifth one, OC5, was struggling again. I had drowned. I had drowned again. We'll backtrack just for 1 second. In first phase, after I drowned, the second week, I believe, we do the 50-meter underwater swim. Online, you see YouTube videos where you jump in the pool, do a front flip, swim to one side, swim back, and you're done. What they don't show you is they beat you beforehand. So you're on the side of the pool deck doing push-ups, like burpees, and you're winded before you jump in the pool. So I'm like, and they're like, enter the pool. So I'm already gassed. Jump in, do my front flip, start swimming the other side. Kick out the other side, halfway back, and boom, blackout. Woke up on the instructor swimming to the side, drowned. I had to retake the test. And if I fucking failed the second time, then I would have got rolled or dropped. Luckily, made it the second time. 2 drownings and fucking 1 in first phase. Now we're in second phase doing pool competency, and I drowned again. 3 drownings in fucking 2 months or 3 months. We lost a lot of dudes in second phase. I think we lost like 30% of our class. I already knew, like, when people say, do you think about quitting? No, because I fucking already died 3 times. So it never crossed my mind because I just made that decision before I went to Buds. It's so hard to explain because at the mindset before I went to Navy, I closed off all relationships with women, which is fucked up because I was very like not vulnerable, closed off, and I was kind of a douchebag to women, which I regret, but I'm now fixing. My family was second priority. My friends were, but I joined Buds to protect them. So it was hard to elaborate to them at the time, maybe my immaturity or inexperience of life, to explain to them why I was doing it. And later I was able to better articulate why. Now we're in third phase, which is land warfare, learning how to shoot. You go to San Clemente Island. And it was fun. I had a ton of fun out there with the guys. You do Frog Hill races, which is this big steep hill with rocks. And you have the start line, and you have to make a certain time limit. If you don't make the time limit, you have to go do surf torture or some games. I had strained my IT band really bad on like the second or third week out there. So I was hobbling every single run. I failed every Frog Hill race from like second week on. So I was just getting my ass kicked, and the instructor's like, go see medical. I'm like, fuck no, because I'm not gonna get fucking rolled or dropped. I'm like, I'll suffer through it. Lost every race. Had to do picky chow. Picky chow is when you have chow at dinner, you have your tray and you're sitting getting surf tortured with big old waves hitting you, and I'm sitting there like, and you have no utensils. So I had to eat it with my face, with the guys next to me that failed the run. And I'm sitting there like getting smashed like with wet food, eating, and I wasn't mad because we found comedy like I did in first phase in chaos, so we were kind of like laughing, which made it easier. During third phase, there was an instructor named Michael Dowd, and I was like, this guy is a fucking badass instructor. He's like a stern instructor, but he teaches fantastic lessons, and he's a fantastic shooter and teacher. So everyone really respected him a lot. I have a lot of respect for Mike at that time. So I hold him to a high regard, and then I'll talk about him in a second. Finished Buds training, and then we go into SQT. Not a ton to talk about there, just basically learning how to be a SEAL, how to dive, they're more teaching you rather than weeding you out. Great time in SQT, was rooming with Justin, peg. Then we finish and we get to Seal graduation, which we get our Trident pin. Before I left for the Navy, addiction runs through my family. I grew up playing baseball from when I was 3 years old till sophomore in high school. My dad was my coach. I quit baseball because I was burned out, and it like fucking shattered his world, and he relapsed on drugs. That's what it's like. This is what it's like to break someone's heart in that way. My own dad, and seeing him relapse on drugs, like showing up to baseball games that I was no longer playing at, starting fights, getting arrested for being on drugs and being out of his mind. So he went into sober living for 3 months, and then he eventually got sober. Was supportive, very supportive of me going to the military. Was sober for a few years, and then I left, and he was good for a few years. Now I finished SQT training at Seal graduation, and had my whole family there, and like 10 of my best friends. And my sister and my mom are sitting next to each other while I'm with my class. They say my name. I'm so proud of my fucking teammates and my honor man. I won't say his name, but fucking, I'm surrounded by high caliber dudes who are fucking amazing humans. It's like so fucking blessed to be with those guys. They say my name. My sister's recording, pans to my mom, and I see my mom crying, which is like one of the only times I've seen her cry. And it was like happy tears, and I was like, this is so cool. And I was like, my mom is so special to me. So I got to see her cry and happiness, and that like fucking was worth like more than the getting Trident pin. My dad won, yeah. And he was good, he's sober, and he was fucking, his lights, his eyes were just fucking glowing, happiness. Took a photo. Family was fucking connected as hell. Then I get orders to SEAL Team 7. I finished graduation June 2017. My Team 7 golf platoon was in Iraq at the time. The Team 7 command, they sent me to JTAC school, which is Joint Terminal Air Attack Controller. Basically, you have a radio talking to airplanes dropping bombs and ordnance, targets, stuff like that. Did that, went to comm school, right back to back. And then my platoon got back from Iraq, and my chief says, like, do you want to go to Iraq on an augment with Team 3? And I said, absolutely. This is December 2017. So I went overseas to Al Asad Air Base with Team 3, and then we went to a FOB forward operating base in Haditha, next to the dam. Went there humbled. I shut my fucking mouth. I'm a new guy with a SEAL platoon that's already been here. I just did what they said. I lived in a tent with another guy who was augmenting, a medic. Just shut my mouth. I was like, what can I do to help you guys? They had jiu-jitsu mats there. They invited me to train, so built rapport with them. And then they started like welcoming me in more to their platoon, which is really cool. I'm humbled by that, and I'm grateful for those dudes. So I hadn't met my platoon because they got back and they were on post-deployment leave. So I hadn't met them until after Iraq. I went to Team 3 Augment, and they didn't have like a initiation thing because I wasn't part of their platoon. But they did have a birthday, a dude's birthday. They invited me into the celebration. It was a lot of fun, hazing, but in a good way, bonding together as boys. And then I started getting sick when I was there because we were getting food from the partner force, Iraqis, through this fence that we were connected to. And it was like a pan of rice and like some weird stuff. I started eating, and then I noticed I was getting a fever, and then my throat was hurting. Didn't say shit, of course. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, I'm sick. And then I started getting really sick. And then I was having a hard time breathing. I had deviated septum, so I'm not nose breathing, and my throat swelling. After like 4 days, I was like dehydrated, pissing brown. I shined a light down my throat with the medic, new guy who was in the tent with me. He's like, bro, you need to go to the hospital now. You have no airway. And I was like, I'm good, bro, I'm good, like talking like this. Waited a few more days, and then it got to a point where I was like, I can't fucking breathe right now. Eventually, I told the team 3 guys, and they were like, they fucking flew a medevac bird, Black Hawk, to our base, our fob, and they flew me to Baghdad. I got in the chopper. It was loud. They put headphones on. They're like, "What's your pain level at?" And it was loud as shit. And I was like, "A 4." And I don't know if they said at 10. If they thought I said at 10, they put an IV in me, and then they gave me pain meds. And I remember looking, flying. They threw flares up as they left, looking at like Iraq city lights. And then I had another out of body experience. I was like, "What the fuck did he just give me? What pain meds were these?" We landed. I felt like I was in heaven. I was like, I feel incredible. Landed, and I was like, "Hey, what'd you give me?" He's like, "I gave you fentanyl." And I was like, "Oh, fuck." Now that we have like the homeless problem with fentanyl being such a big problem in the US, kind of understand like the addiction part of it, because I'm like, this shit's amazing, you know? So I was in the hospital for like a week, FaceTime my family in Christmas and New Year's, eventually healed. And then they were like, "Dude, you're like, I lost 20 pounds, was like 154. Like, you need to go home, dude. You're like not an asset anymore." I'm like, fuck. I had mono infection. Don't know how I got it, but I'll show you a picture after and we could share it online if you want. Completely swollen. I couldn't eat anything because there was nothing to go, no airway to go down. So I didn't eat for fucking a week. So I went from 171 to 153. And then I went to Baghdad. I was in the ER unit for a week. Then I stayed there, went back to Al Assad for like 2 weeks, and they were like, "Go home," flew home. And then I recovered back home. And then I joined my platoon after. Went in there with open arms, willing to learn, saying yes to whatever the fuck they said. I think I gained initial respect because I knew how to fight well. So in my eyes, like, if you have a problem with another man, especially in the SEAL teams, you just go to the fight gym and you fight it out. You get a fucking chaperone to watch you guys, and you know, if you have a problem with each other, you fight each other, shake hands, and then move on. That's how the fucking OGs, fucking men, handle their business. So I think I had a little respect from them, but I still was just willing to learn and take all their knowledge and soak it in and be part of the brotherhood and earn my stripes. We got pinned at like graduation, and then most like they take your Trident away, and they you have to earn it back. So after a whole workup, either right before deployment or on deployment, if you earn it, then they give it back to you, and then that's where you get patched in. So my platoon, ironically, after reading about my Capricorn sign, the Grim Reaper, having him show up, I show up to my SEAL platoon, and we have our logo is the Grim Reaper, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And now I have it tattooed on my arm. I was like, this is like synchronicities in the universe, like telling me I'm on the right path, like you should be here with this brotherhood. You know, those guys just back from a combat deployment in Iraq, so I'm like, I'm gonna give everything I have to this platoon. I shut off all possibility of a relationship with women because I was working out all the time shooting, and I was like, I'm gonna give these guys my fucking best with no distractions. My family was still second. In my eyes, I was a high-level performer. I was a great shot, so I had a good reputation. And so my platoon passion, I'm like, thank you, boys. Like, this is gonna be with me forever. And it was right before deployment. We were on San Clemente Island doing SOUC, which is Special Operations Urban Combat Training. It was 9/11, and we took the flag down at half-mast, and they stood us all in a line, and they gave us our patch on 9/11. Our first deployment was in 2019 to the UAE, United Arab Emirates. It's not a combat deployment. It's we were just there, like more like a training deployment. The Iranians they were through the Strait of Hormuz. They were going from Iran and putting like landmines on these shipping containers as they were passing through. We were tasked with doing. We would travel a little bit farther away from where we were, and we went on SWIC boats, which is like special operations. These fast boats who take us places, and they're phenomenal dudes as well. We did a battle damage assessment on a shipping container when Trump was in office. And so we did like a free dive on a battle damage assessment shipping container, massive ones. And so we did a free dive and doing like measurements. And so I was diving down with an officer and 2 other enlisted guys doing battle damage assessment. It was really cool because it was a diving op. Obviously, there's like oil from the engine room being blown up and gasoline and vaporized metals. So we were diving in gasoline, and I was like, this shit can't be good for your health. I was like, you're probably gonna get cancer later in life. So that was like one little thing we did on deployment, but nothing too significant on that deployment. We were able to like go out, and there's like a local bar that we were able to go to. Team guys being team guys, high testosterone, protective of their people, of their platoon. So guys were getting fights a little bit. So we got our pee-pee slapped a little bit. And then at that time, that was when Eddie Gallagher's case came up about, the murder charges. So everything was like the big Navy, and everyone was like looking at us. So we were getting fights at bars was like, no more going out, you guys. We have too much spotlight on us, which we don't want. So I got back from Iraq. It was January 2018. 2 months later, my best friend Justin Pegg shot himself in the head and killed himself. He went to the East Coast, SEAL Team 10. So we were checking our teams. I went on deployment, so there's a lapse in communication because I'm 12 hours difference, 10-hour difference. I regret not communicating with him the best I could, staying in touch as much as I should have. And he was in a dark place. So I feel accountable for him killing himself. So I found out that news. I was in Coronado with my platoon. Fucking looked at my phone. I didn't cry, which is weird at first. I felt like an obligation to work harder and to be a better person, be a better teammate, be a better communicator. So I put my kid on and went for a beach run. Put my headphones in, went down Coronado Beach for, I don't know, God knows how long. And then I sent him a text after he passed. I said, long live the brotherhood, I love you. And then I just screenshotted it. And I looked at it for the first time this past year in my camera roll. And then I used my platform. I try to use my platform online to memorialize dudes and put them on a pedestal. I'm like, these guys are heroes. They gave the ultimate sacrifice. I haven't been through shit in my life. They gave everything they had for their country. And I try to make that as clear as I can, to give back and to be on podcasts, Urban Valor, to share perspective on what I've been through, not for highlights of what I've been through, because I don't give a fuck about myself. I didn't go get a SEAL Trident to be a team guy, to go blast a Trident online. I did it to serve my country, my people. I shine light on the dudes who gave the ultimate sacrifice. I give back, sharing my story to allow other veterans to open up about mental health, about suicide. It's ironic, my mom gave me this bracelet 3 days ago. Support our veterans, 22 a day. 22 veterans commit suicide every day. So I'm trying to shine light on the veteran community and be vulnerable, be open to talking about this, which I was very uncomfortable going online at all, because it's frowned upon in the SEAL community to pimp your Trident or to make money, which I'm not gonna pay for this shit. I don't fucking give a fuck about all of that. I'm trying to shine light and be vulnerable, to have veterans open up. And then after doing this a few times, I was getting messages from other team guys, Marines, Army veterans, regular civilians, who said, from you sharing your story on your family and your life experience, I was suicidal last week and now I'm not. That's my fucking purpose right there. That's why I do this. Iran sent those cruise missiles into Iraq, into al-Assad, which we got pimped about from another country or notice. So they put everyone from the base to the middle of nowhere in MATVs, big unboard tanks, and they hit the bases. So like World War III is like on the horizon. We got tasked to go do a BDA, battle damage assessment, on shipping containers because they were hitting like UK shipping containers, non-US ones, but they were concerned about them escalating further. And so we were there on standby. So we were there, did the BDA assessment, went back to our little fob, went out for another one. We were sitting on the boats waiting for approval, and it got canceled. And then the following night, when we were supposed to go out, the Iranian dudes hit another one as we were supposed to go out. So it could have been interesting going on swick boats and interacting with them possibly, and then who knows what would happen there. We have our own 10-week sniper school in Indiana. You know, fantastic instructors, fucking hard as fuck school. It was challenging, very, very challenging. Sniper school was amazing. Blessed to be there, stoked. Failed a couple tests, did some retests, passed them. Was stalking in -6-degree weather. Stalking's, the instructors are on the truck bed with binoculars, and they're looking for you as you're stalking. So you're moving fucking slow for hours, for 1,000 meters, 500 meters, whatever. Being sneaky, building a little sight, taking your shot with blanks, and then they walk you on. The instructor's walking around and they try to find you with the binoculars. They get within like 5 feet of you, and if they don't see you, then you pass. So you're basically invisible, which is fucking sneaky frogman shit. That was fucking fun. They don't give you like a kestrel, which gives you like all your calculations nowadays. They teach you the basics of like, you do the math on a notepad with a calculator. And in high school, I failed everything and I cheated my way. So I had to like do math for the first time. So that was hard for me. The tripod test was hard, shooting off a tripod at distance. I went to like the 3rd attempt on that. Other than that though, I did pretty well. I would say like the day in, day out, you know, it was 7 a.m. to like 7 p.m., 12-hour days, 7 days a week, sometimes 6. So just the constant mental grind of passing tests every day, being locked in for that whole amount of time. Not physical PT, but stalking was hard because it was so cold that your fingers are frozen. So as you take your shot, and trigger pull is so important to have a nice smooth trigger squeeze and follow through. We wore mittens with fingerless gloves you could pop off. So I wore those with hand warmies inside. So my fingers are warm, popped them off, hand warmies, took the shot. So I would say not physical, but more of it was weather difficult to be going through cold weather like that. I was saying a second, we started in November 2019, and what happened in 2020? January, February, we were finishing sniper school in Indiana, COVID happened. So we finished sniper school, came back, and then everything was shut down. So I finished sniper school, was living with team guys in San Diego, and we had this sweet, like 3-story place with a rooftop overlooking the airport. So we set up jiu-jitsu mats, and we were just doing like Muay Thai and grappling on the rooftop for like 2 months. And like I said, in high school, I crave chaos, and like I was egging police cars. I was always fascinated by like, let's just do crazy shit. So in Santa Monica, the riots happened in LA, where I saw it on the news, and I got my car. I put a fucking plates on and my pistol with my best friend, and I'm a psycho. I drove to Santa Monica to watch it. I wanted to see chaos. I went there with my best friend, walking on the streets. Every single piece of glass was broken in LA and Santa Monica. We roll up my truck, park it, standing in front of this Asian shop owner. I see these dudes roll up in this vehicle, hop out of their vehicle with AR-15s, sprint into a store. And I was like, oh fuck, we're 20 yards away. 10 seconds later, bang, 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 bang. The dudes that ran in the store fucking sprinted out, was hobbling, got in their car, sped off, like God knows how fast, crashed into a fucking pole, car caught on fire, and the shop owner came out with an AR-15. Cop showed up, was talking to him while he was strapped, nonchalantly, like, yeah, you defended your shop. These guys came with fucking guns. So that was just a little funny story about COVID, what I was doing during the time. That was the end of sniper school and the first 2 months of COVID. 2020, everyone had issues. People lapsed into alcohol abuse because they're sitting at home, drug abuse. My dad, same thing happened, which happened in high school. I fucking failed again at communication. I could deal with that with Justin Peg, with my family, because they were second priority, because I was focused on the boys. My mom was living with my dad, seeing drug abuse, and like most people, which I don't blame her, they see a problem, and all they have to do is turn away, and the problem is gone. They ignore it without facing it head on. I'm used to seeing a problem, attacking it, running through it, having a hard conversation. I go to pre-deployment leave, and I get the news my sister was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And for women, it's really hard because, you know, they have menstrual cycles and stuff. This is March 2021, getting ready to go on Yemen deployment with my platoon. I'm sniper, point man for my platoon. Big responsibility, I didn't take lightly. My job was to lead my platoon on missions. My job is to secure their welfare, make sure the routes are good so no one gets fucking hurt. Sitting with my family, my dad and my mom, my sister with Crohn's disease, moved back to my parents' house because she was very sick. So she was in bed, and my dad was high as fuck on methamphetamine. I sat with the three of them, my mom, my dad, my sister, and I told my dad, if I have to come back and save you, I'm going to resent you for my whole entire life. Those are the exact words I told him. Sister's bedridden, my mom's ignoring the situation. My parents' bedroom's on the second floor of the house. My sister's on the first floor with the living room in between. The same living room where I see my dad finishing the Boston Marathon picture, look at it every day. I go on deployment in a combat zone. It wasn't kinetic, but we were doing I was sniper, so we were doing Overwatch for like ground branch, like CIA dudes. We were doing a lot of intel gathering from like the Houthis and terrorists and that. So we were using a tech guy to get info. We had a couple drones that went down and we did like some recovery drone stuff. Our spot was close to the beach, close to the water. We drive our ATVs and guys would surf there because we were in our fob with the ski-doo with the sled on the back. And we had this dude who was a fucking beast of a surfer. And my job was because I wasn't a surfer, so I would just chill there, watch him surf, and I would pick him up and take him in and out of surf zone. And I'm looking at him surf, and I see a big old fin pop up out of the water. And I'm like, oh, fuck. It was a great white, it was a fucking big-ass shark. And I was like, I'll say his name, yo, bro, hop on the fucking sled, there's a shark. And he's like, oh, fuck, if I can roll up to him, hops on the back of the ski, pull him in, and he's like, that was close. And I was like, that motherfucker was like 10 yards from you. And it's murky as shit. The water is brown as fuck, you can't see anything. So that was like a little fun thing we did. Sniper Overwatch, intel gathering. Now it's July 2021. 12-hour, 10-hour time difference, communication with that, it's so off with my family. My sister texted me. And my neighbor texted me. My neighbor doesn't text me, ever. My sister's saying, my dad's really bad, can you come home? And I was like, come home? I'm in the middle of deployment, but point man, that's asking a lot. In my head, I said that, I didn't say that to her. And my neighbor texted me, your dad found your sister in a pool of her own blood in the bathtub. And he's high on meth, so I can only imagine like him carrying out his bloody daughter to an ambulance. how he felt. And she was dead in the ambulance. Somehow, like, cling to life because she's a fucking tough motherfucker. And I said, okay, I'm coming home. I asked my chief. I explained to him, and he's like, bro, go home. I support this. And I didn't even say yes first. I like waited a few weeks, like contemplating this decision because it's big. If I fucking leave and like somehow a guy dies because I employ men and the second dude takes charge, then that's my fault. Eventually I flew home, but I didn't tell my dad I was flying home. I wanted to shock him to see what state he was in mentally and drug-wise. Showed up at the house. My sister's back from the hospital. My mom's still ignoring everything. And he had been up for 5 days on a meth bender, talking to shadow people, talking crazy shit. He was talking to like I'm talking to you, but there was no person there. That's how much he was hallucinating. I'm big on my gut instinct, like we were talking about a second ago, listening to it. Your initial gut feeling is usually correct. I went with that. My gut instinct told me to get your sister and your mom to a hotel or something because it's not safe here, the way he was talking. And I was like, Dad, I'm gonna go back to San Diego because I have to check into the team. This was Thursday. Go back to the team. Went to the Padres game with my best friend just to decompress, fucking have a beer, and then was gonna go home. And at the Padres game on Friday night at like 7 p.m., and my neighbor FaceTimes me. He's never texted me unemployment. He's never, ever once FaceTimed me, ever. I looked at my phone and I said, fuck. I waited a second and answered, and my house is on fire. Not like a small house fire where it's like smoke. The fucking place is torched. And I started melting. I didn't know if my dad was in the house or not. I wasn't sure if he was inside being burned alive. All I got was a FaceTime that hung up. Drove from San Diego, got there at like 11 p.m. The police are gone, the fire's out. And I'm just staring at my house that's gone. Caution tape around it. And I just walked through my house, through the caution tape at midnight, looking at everything. The picture of my dad's gone. The room my sister was in was burned. Then a police officer showed up at like 1 a.m. I was still sitting there. He's like, are you Zach? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, your brother told me you'd be coming. Just wanted to stop by. He was super cool, man. I have a lot of respect for law enforcement. Like, he didn't have to come and like guess when I'd be there. Just wanted to say what's up. So thank you for whoever that was. I don't know his name. My dad was talking crazy stuff, like I said, about blazing infernos and fire. And I'll just leave you with that because stuff going on. And when I say the house was torched, I mean, it looked like someone put gasoline everywhere and lit it on fire. My dad went to prison. I went to jail for felony arson. He has his cross, gold cross he wears every day of his life. And when he got arrested, they took out the jewelry and his phone, found paraphernalia, gave the cross to my sister. Such a meaningful, because every picture I have of my dad, he's wearing the cross. I eventually got the cross back. He thought it was gone. And I took it and I put it in my pocket. And my sister was okay because she was at a hotel. My mom was fine. And then I was contemplating, like, did I make the right decision on moving them out? Well, if I didn't, then they would be dead. Because my sister was bed, she couldn't get out of bed physically. My mom lived upstairs and the house fire happened in the living room in between them. There was no escape for her. My dad was in the house while it was burning and my neighbor was like, Bill, get out of there. And it was just an inferno of smoke, and he got smoke inhalation. And he wasn't leaving because he was talking to these shadow people he was like trying to get them out. And he eventually got out, and it was all fucked up. I have a video that I wouldn't mind sharing. It's him walking out, shirtless, drugged out, and he went to the hospital and the jail, and he was okay, but everyone's fine. I've never felt. I told him before deployment I was resigning for the rest of my life. I didn't know what anger felt like. I didn't know a fucking human could be this angry. That's how fucking angry I was at him. And like I said, my dad is the epitome of a fucking father figure. He's amazing 95% of his life. He just has these little demons that everyone has, where he has lapses of judgment and drug abuse, and then he becomes a demon. And I felt only the demon energy from him. I forgot about the dad he was, the dad he really, really is. I was living in a hotel with my parents because the house was gone. My dad was in jail. I didn't talk to him. I was sitting in the hotel, and I thought I was having a stroke. My blood was fucking boiling. I was like, I've never felt this much anger towards someone. I wanted to fucking kill him. That's how angry I was. And I held on to that. But my family was heartbroken like I was. So I had to like put a wall up and be like, I got you guys. So like, I'll be the pillar of strength while everyone's grumbling. So I held all that weight on my shoulder for months. And it was a lot. My brother was so angry at him that he moved states. He fucking just left. My parents, my mom fucking hates him. My sisters hate him. I hate him. I need to fucking heal myself before I help anyone because I'm fucking fucked up. My end of enlistment was November 2021. I got back from deployment. That fire happened, and I was now a civilian. So I didn't have time to process how to transition out. I didn't do any VA disability stuff. I didn't know what it was like to be a civilian. So I was being a civilian, house on fire, sister's almost dead. My dad and family are broken, all in 1 month. So I started training jiu-jitsu in COVID. So I found 10th Planet Orange, my coach Mike John and John Cho, and I started doing 2-a-days. I would wake up, do jiu-jitsu in the morning, lift weights in the afternoon, do jiu-jitsu again. And I did that for months. Ironically enough, January, pretty fast after the house thing happened, I was sitting at jiu-jitsu open mat, and this dude comes up to me in between rounds and looks at me in my face and said, never met him before. Are you okay? What's wrong with you? I was like, how the fuck do you know what's wrong with me? He's like, your eyes are fucking soulless. There's fucking pain in you. I was like, you're right, bro. And he was a Marine. He was a coach at a different gym. And he said, I have something that I think will help you. Have you heard of psychedelic therapy? I was like, yeah, I've done psilocybin prior, and it was very helpful and useful. And he brought up ayahuasca medicine. And I said, bro, I'm open to anything right now because I'm fucking in the dark depths. And he said, okay. There's the other coach is the shaman. He's a guardian, which is like the helper of the shaman. And then in June, a few months later, I went to the ceremony in LA. You think LA is like the worst place for it, but it was in this beautiful home overlooking the city with a garden. And I drove up there, was scared shitless because I was like, this is gonna be intense. I pull up to the house, I took a selfie, and I contemplated driving back home. Said, fuck that. I've dealt with every challenge I've ever been through head on. I'm going inside this fucking house. Just like I went inside that door that the Reaper showed up with. Ayahuasca ceremonies one weekend. It starts on a Friday. You have a Friday ceremony, a Saturday ceremony, Sunday you leave. And before you go to the ceremony, you get a notepad and you write down your intentions on what you want to get out of the ceremony. What do you want to heal from? I only wrote down three things. Let go of the hatred towards my dad. The first night of the ceremony, I'll give a glimpse on what it was like sitting in this living room, candle lit, dim, shaman are playing music to my left, praying. It was the most beautiful music I've ever felt in my life. It was fucking incredible. There's 10 women on one side, 10 men on the other, 20 people, all meditating, having their experience, all healing there, just like me. Sitting there in a chair, and I feel a gust of wind come through the room. And I popped my eye open. I was like, it's weird, we're indoors. The door was shut. There was no fan on. I was like, that's bizarre. I closed my eyes again. All the women started crying in unison. They were weeping like just exaggerating almost. And I opened my eyes and all of them were crying and looking at me. And then, like I said before with women, I was such a douchebag to women. And my emotions, not a douchebag, but I was just so closed off to feeling anything from them because I focused on my platoon. And I watched all their air crying love join in the middle of the room. And I looked at it and I followed it. It was like women love that only women can give. And I was like, what the fuck? And I watched it go in my stomach. And I looked at my stomach, it was a burning pit of inferno. And I felt my dad in fire. And then I watched it go up my stomach, up my neck, and my head fell back, and my eyes opened, and flamethrowers flew out of my eyes. I was purging my dad's hatred. It all left me in like 20 seconds. It was gone. And I forgave him for everything. I didn't think it was fucking possible to forgive him. That's how mad I was. Forgave him one night. And it was all because of the woman showing me love, what it was like to feel love and to receive love and to forgive. Then I made it to a point to undo my wrongs that I've done to women. So now I show them emotion. I show them vulnerability. I give them love. I share my story with them. And it's been fucking mind-blowing. I've been able to have like 6 women already by me sharing my story, not asking them to share their story, just telling them. And they would open up about their family trauma, about them being abused, being beaten by their family members, their significant other. They would tell me this, and I would tell them my ayahuasca ceremony, and they went and they healed from their trauma in one weekend. The power of perspective. So when I say online, I give veterans high praise for giving the ultimate sacrifice. I also share psychedelic therapy and vulnerability to help guys that are still in that may be mad at me using my Seal platform. I use it in a way to get people's attention because you get humbly like respect immediately and attention. Like, cool, I have your attention. Here's the story to heal you when you get out of the military, because you're going to be faced with the same problems that all veterans deal with when they transition out: is loss of brotherhood. Your purpose and identity are fucking gone, and you have to deal with it. So I try to share as much as I can to help you guys. I don't give a fuck about making money. I don't give a fuck about Seal fucking glamour and all that bullshit. I don't care. Look at my profile. You'll see my intention. Don't jump to conclusions. So there was a time where I was like transitioning, like, what's my purpose? My identity's gone. I have no brotherhood. I went to jiu-jitsu June, so 8 months later did ayahuasca, was healed. 2 months later I went to this guy online, Angel Cortez. I follow Army Ranger, has a company called the OG Pumpkin, where his purpose is to gather veterans at jiu-jitsu events and events that he throws to just bring the community together and share stories and do jiu-jitsu. And I sat next to him and was like, hey bro, I'm Zach. Nice to meet you, thanks for having me. And we chatted, and then he hit me up online a little bit later and was like, do you want to come to a pistol shooting course? I'm an instructor at Defense Strategies Group. I said, absolutely bro, I'd love to shoot. I need brotherhood, you know, and I'm a good instructor. I would love to hang out with you guys. Later, find out my third phase instructor, Michael Dowd, was the founder of Defense Strategies Group. So now I'm with a SEAL, I'm with a fucking badass Army Ranger, Alex Fitchler, Benji, Nate Mendez, just this community of brotherhood. And I looked into why Michael Dowd started Defense Strategies Group. I was like, what is his mission? And his mission stated to create purposeful and meaningful jobs for veterans who have lost a brotherhood and community that I lost and I felt. So he created it for veterans. Like, how fucking selfless do you have to be to start a business for other veterans at a shooting range, which we all have common ground on? I said I'd hold him to a high regard. I love that dude. I love all those dudes, and I'm gonna give my life for them in 1 second. So now I'm healed from my family trauma. I met Angel. I'm healed. I'm not talking to my dad. Eventually talked to him a little bit. I brought up ayahuasca medicine to him. He said, no, that's drugs, it's bad. Just like everyone. Just like I thought too in the past. Said no, said no. This was leading up to the ceremony. Now it's 3 months without him talking. And I show up to the ceremony. I healed from family trauma. I haven't talked to him in 3 months. My second intention was to get a close relationship to my faith in God and pray that my dad's open to healing himself, because you have to want to heal yourself, or else no one can help you. Saturday night ceremony, second day, closing my eyes, and I'm flying through cosmic space colors in the most beautiful, peaceful, amazing place I've ever seen. And I said in my head, where the fuck am I? And a voice came over and started laughing, like giggling. It's like, huh. And I was like, who's that? There's no people, it's just energy of love, nothing but love. And I said, what place is this? And it felt like God, his presence. He said, this is where you came from, and this is where you're gonna come to when you die. And I'm like, am I in fucking heaven right now? I'm sorry to swear about heaven, but am I in heaven? And he's like, it's not your time yet, but I'll see you in a bit. And I was like, fuck, opened my eyes. Felt like I was in heaven. Went outside, take a breather, came back in. I said a prayer for my dad. It's like, God, I just met you for the first time. I pray that my dad wants to heal himself. Saturday night happens. I show up to Jiu-Jitsu Monday, 2 days later. My dad texts me. Haven't heard from him in 3 months. I'm ready to get help. People say there isn't a God, but fuck. So I guided him to the ayahuasca ceremony, started building a relationship again. My mom still hates him, my sister hates him, I forgave him. October, 6 months later, I guided him to get there. He went there. I said, Dad, I'll talk to you Monday. We'll get lunch after and talk about your experience. He doesn't cry. I cry because I have my mom's love and my mom's fucking softness. Took him to lunch, to Earth Cafe, in Orange. And he looked at me and he started crying. And he said, I'm 70 years old. This is the best thing as a son you ever done for me. I felt all that weight just fucking gone. He's fucking healed just like I was. The glossy demon eyes gone. He was back to my old dad. And he's been sober since then. And that was fucking almost 2 years. My dad is healed. My mom still hates my dad. My sister hates him. They haven't talked to him. It's been a year. Now my focus is, I see my mom getting drunk every night with sadness and hatred. And it breaks my heart again to see my mom like that. I was like, I need to fucking heal my mom. So I'm like, what can I do? Ayahuasca's too intense for her. It's too out of the realm. So I'm like, I need something to show her love like I felt, because she needs to just feel love and not angry anymore. So I talked to Michael Dowd, and he has his therapist that does MDMA therapy for combat veterans, veterans in general. And I got in contact with his therapist, and I brought it up to my mom, and she said, absolutely not. Drugs are bad. I said, okay, I understand. Months pass, a year passes, a year and a half passes of her saying no. And I'm not telling her to do anything, I'm just giving her an option. And then I said, what I'm doing is not fucking working. I show up to her apartment, and I didn't ask her or bring it up at all. I just started crying in front of her randomly. I said, it hurts me to see you in pain. It's like, I'm hurting a lot because you're sad. And giving her that angle, that perspective, allowed her to say yes. And that was September 2023. So she said yes, or she was scheduled for December 2023 to do MDMA therapy. Went all the way up to the date she was supposed to do it and backed out. And I was like, fuck, man. Just 2 years of this, of guiding her there, and I failed her. Why didn't I hold her hand and bring her there? I'm hard on myself, and it's a quality to have that I do like about myself, is being hard, because it's helped me help a lot of people, not giving up and not taking no for an answer. She said, no, I'm scared. I said, okay. January, my birthday, 2024, January 11th. And I get a text signal from my SEAL Team 7 dudes. Something's wrong. Those boys are on deployment in Yemen. They were tasked to do a hook and climb, basically on swick boats, driving, throwing a ladder up at the middle of the night, climbing a shipboard to basically interdict the Iranians giving weapons to the Houthi rebels in Yemen. They were bringing ordnance and bombs to them. So they did a hook and climb, climbing up on a mission, and one of the dudes slipped and fell and went into the water, in the ocean. We're not sure if he got KO'd or if he immediately drowned, but his SEAL buddy jumped in after him as a swim buddy. And so they were missing, and we said, something's wrong. Time passes, days pass. Now it's on the news. They're looking for him. They find a piece of gear. They had like drones in the air looking, searching. 20 days pass, and then they presume they presume dead. 2 teammates, Ingram and Chambers. And then how fucking brotherhood to me is that? Your boy fucking falls in the drink and he jumps in, no hesitation. That is a fucking hero. So fucking thank you for his family and the brothers that are with them, and raising a fucking savage loving human protector. So thank you guys for your sacrifice. Those guys passed my birthday. Thinking about the boys a lot now. The therapist calls me, texts me at 4 a.m. during all this. Says, where's your mom at? I haven't talked to her in weeks. I'm like, I haven't either. And then my mom calls me on January 11th because it was January 11th at midnight. Now it's January 11th, 6 p.m. saying, I'm ready to do it again. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Just everything is just sinking in weird ways. So I get on a three-way phone call with the therapist, my mom, and I'm like, I'm gonna guide you to this one. She's scheduled for February, a month later, to do the MDMA. The therapist asked me a favor. I said, I'll do anything. She's like, I want you to get letters from every person in your family, handwritten letters. And I want you to, from my uncle that was in prison, from my dad, from my brother who hasn't talked to my dad since 2019. So it's my sisters, my mom, who I've talked to him for 2 years. And it took a lot for me to like get those for them. About just telling my mom whatever they want. For my dad, it was, I'm so fucking sorry for what he did at the house for letting you down as a husband. Uh, my sister was like, Mom, I love you. I'm sorry you went through all this. My other sister was like, you're the best mom in the world. Just showing her love and like, I'm with you. So I have like reading all these letters from my family, showing her like, telling her like how you feel, maybe something you wouldn't share in person that's very vulnerable, like, I fucking love you with all my heart. Showing your love, which is what MDMA does. It for people who don't know, it releases serotonin in your brain, and you feel just extraordinary amounts of love. And got these handwritten letters. I wrote my letter in February. I stayed up all night looking at a fucking blank piece of paper, thinking about what to tell my mom. And this is the morning of she's gonna come to my house, and I was like, I have a gift for you, or I have a gift for the therapist. Won't say her name. I want you to give this package to her. It's for her. She said, oh, absolutely. Give her this package. She goes to San Diego, sees the therapist, gives the gift to the therapist. She doesn't know that they're letters. She thinks it's something for the therapist. And the therapist says, I had been up all night making sure my mom would show up to my house. I was like, I'm gonna go get her if she doesn't. And then my therapist texted me at 11 a.m., stay up, because I'm gonna inform you on how the therapy is going mid-process. She sends me a picture at like 2 p.m. of my mom crying on this couch. Reading these letters for my family. And it was her like, that happiness I saw her cry at my Seal graduation. I saw that again. And it made me so happy to see her heal. And the therapist was like, your mom is back. She doesn't feel like it anymore. She says, thank you for not giving up on me. This is the best thing you've ever done for me. And she was healed in February a couple months ago. So she's good. And now my sister, I have twin sisters. Now I'm working on them. One of my sisters, they're twins, had her first daughter the same day as the house fire. My dad has never met his granddaughter at this point. So I worked on my sister being open to, she's like, I will never see my dad. I was like, he hasn't met his granddaughter. That's huge. My dad's 70. And I was like, can I mediate a lunch with you guys? I'll show up and I'll just be there as a guide. She said, okay. It was the fucking best lunch ever. He saw us, his fucking eyes lit up as the niece met her. She forgave him, and now like he watches her, they hang all the time. Now my other sister, this happened yesterday. I posted a Father's Day post about him, just shining light on him, giving him thanks. And there was a picture of my sister that's not healed, saying, take that fucking photo down. And I said, no. My gut was telling me to leave it up for a few hours because she was angry, and I wanted her to work through that anger and let it out. And then she calls me a few hours later saying, thank you. I didn't know how angry I was. I've been holding on to this for so long. This was yesterday. I took the photo down anyway, and she said, I need healing. So now that's my next goal. It's Taylor. And she's open to it now. This is yesterday. My sister hasn't talked to my dad in almost 3 years. It'll be August, 3 years in this August. And she texted him. She had blocked him this whole time. She said, happy Father's Day, I love you. My dad said, Dad, thank you so much. I love you. And she said, I'm sorry it took so long to heal. I'm still healing. And but she said it, which is all that matters. So now my next goal is to help heal her and reconnect them. My purpose is to help heal my family and to give back to the veteran community, to be vulnerable and open and share my story to help others who are struggling with suicidal thoughts, reconnecting, transition from the military. So I'm working with Defense Strategies Group. I'm a co-owner with Angel and Mike, Angel Cortez, Michael Dowd. I wake up every day, get to teach people firearms, self-defense lessons, seeing them transform from sharing their story and being more capable humans on defending their family and friends. So that's my purpose, is to give back as everything I have. Thank you, Urban Valor, Josh, for having me on. I really appreciate this. It means a lot to me. Make sure to check out his YouTube and his Instagram and everything. I just want everyone to know, be open for vulnerability, sharing your story. Don't see it as a weakness. See it as giving perspective on helping other humans heal from life trauma. And for veterans looking for transition guidance, feel free to hit me up anytime. I'll help you as much as I can. And for dudes that are still active duty, maybe not be reactive into hating on SEALs or other guys from using a platform. Maybe look at their platform and seeing what is their purpose and mission. Well, I shared mine. You're going to get out of the military eventually, and you're going to face the problems I felt with, which is loss of brotherhood and being a civilian again. So maybe just get perspective, and I'm willing to help you even if you hate me. If you don't like what I'm doing, I'm still there for you, and I'll help you if you reach out.